Welcome into our lives.
And welcome to the Expanders Club podcast.
We're so happy to have you.
Join us as we embark on a journey of deep exploration, soul searching, and asking the hard questions.
With the goal of truly understanding the most aligned, empowered, and purposeful versions of ourselves.
We want to live an extraordinary life, and we're willing to dig deep to find out what it takes.
Buckle up. You're about to meet a new version of yourself, an extraordinary one. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Expanders Club podcast. I am your host, Brooke Harris, Oracle, spiritual bestie, spiritual advisor, here for any and all of your questions, needs, and certainly your expansion. And you guys, I am so excited. I'm coming off of this serious energy buzz because I just recorded this episode and I cannot wait to get it to you. It is with two of my mentors, two of my favorite people, two of my go-to guides, healers in this world. Kate Van Horn, who is an incredible psychic, tarot reader. She reads people, homes, cards. She is beyond that. Actually, she's done some incredible readings for me and has been a mentor and has helped me through my spiritual awakening and shift into a modern oracle. And Eric Roberts of the Unlock Method. Both of these guests have been on previous episodes. If you want to go back, some of their solo episodes are our most popular and just have so much good information in it. And Eric is an astrologer. He does numerology. He does astrocartography. So if you're thinking of moving somewhere, he's done our whole family's astrocartography. He knows a ton about human design, kind of brings together all of these tools to help teach you about your blueprint and help empower you in knowing yourself. He's been an incredible resource for me over the past year. Someone I work with and talk to on a regular basis, and I refer all my friends, and it's like the birthday gift that I buy my family members and friends is a session with him. So you guys will get to see and experience what a gem he is, but highly recommend both of them and both of their offerings. And today I got together with them to talk purpose. So there are some words in spirituality that I feel like need a little rebrand, or people need a better understanding of what they are. Through my experiences reading for people through oracle sessions, purpose is one that comes up a lot. Everyone wants to know their purpose. And when I see information and get information on what their purpose is, a lot of times there's a disconnect between what they think purpose is and what it really is. And so I wanted to have a conversation with two of the people that I trust the most and I know had put a lot of thought into this and also had a ton of experiences on their own reading for people, and talk about what is purpose really? What does it mean? How should we be approaching it? How can we better understand it? And then how can we take actual actionable steps to align and be in our purpose? So that's what this episode is about. So many great nuggets, so much good information, a lot of really cool and interesting perspectives that I think will get you guys excited. And I think actually accidentally answer a lot of the questions and mystery around spirituality and spiritual concepts. So super excited for you guys to listen. If you liked this, please let me know, because there are a bunch of these words in spirituality that I feel like need a rebrand or better descriptions. And so we could dive in to more of them. So I'm hoping you like them, because these are the types of conversations I want to be having and the type of information I want to be getting you guys. I think it's really impactful. It's really profound. And hopefully it's really empowering too, right? For you to be able to hear and process these concepts on your own and start to get the answers for yourself. So with that said, I hope you enjoy this episode. As you know, we're winding down the month of October. It's been a very interesting month in my world. Curious how you are all doing. I am now offering oracle sessions. As I think most of you know, those sessions, you can talk about anything from purpose to relationships to life goals to past lives to kind of really answering any anything you want from this higher consciousness, from this like spiritual advisor perspective. So anything you need advice on, have questions about, need help getting clarity on, I can help you via an oracle session. And for the rest of October, through October, I'm doing a little discount for you guys because I really want to share and help empower you and help you get ready for the new year. So use code FREEDOM. You can go to my personal Instagram page. I'll also link it in the show notes. And you can read about what the sessions are. You can then book a session and use code FREEDOM for 30% off. That is code FREEDOM for 30% off. Book it anytime in October. You don't have to book it for October. It can be in November, December. You can book it for the beginning of the year if you want to hear, you know, what you should be thinking about for the year, what you should be expecting, how the year is going to go. Book it for any time, but just purchase it and get it booked in October. All right. So grateful for the opportunity to share this information with you. So grateful to be here to serve you. And yeah, I love you all. All right. Hope you enjoy this one. You guys, I am so excited, so happy to be here. No place I'd rather be than talking to two of my favorite people, two of my spiritual advisors about a really cool topic, purpose.
Yes.
And, you know, I think where we're going to go is going to be really interesting. We don't know, but you bring a psychic, an oracle, and an astrologer, put them in a room and get them talking. And yes,
it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yeah. Exactly. And actually, Eric, astrologer like doesn't fully do you justice. What are you calling yourself these days?
I call myself an alignment coach, and I don't know if that even is fully accurate in terms of the description, but I think as of right now it's probably the most accurate. I help people find their alignment in their lives, anything that's keeping them out of alignment, whether in any area of life, relationship, career, purpose, location, and we dive deep and excavate and help find alignment and purpose. So yeah, that's probably most accurate.
Yeah, we need to come up with it. Maybe by the end of this, or maybe someone listening will like come up with like a really perfect title for you, because like
good.
It's time for that elevated real title. And you are, as you know, because I send everyone your way, you're like my first stop on someone even hints to me that they need help. They're ready to start their journey. They're looking for something. I'm like, go to Eric. So you are an incredible support out there in the world.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Kate, do you want to share what you do? Our favorite psychic.
Absolutely. I am a psychic, intuitive tarot reader, and mentor to women and those on their spiritual journey. I'm also the author of the book, The Inner Tarot. So I love all things intuitive. And I really believe in connecting with a more intuitive lifestyle allows us to feel more at peace with ourselves and our energy. And I really help people meet themselves where they are and start to love and accept all parts of their story.
Yeah, I love that description. So we're going to talk about purpose. And one of the things that kind of led me here, first of all, like everyone should know that you two are mentors of mine and like have played such an important role on me being where I am, which is miles away from where I was a year ago, which is like a little over a year ago is when Eric and I started working together. And then Kate, you kind of like rounded out you were like the final push on my journey. You were like, all right, time to jump out of the plane, and got me to where I am today, publicly speaking about psychic work, oracle work, helping people. So I guess just a public acknowledgement and thank you both for that.
Of course.
Thank you.
But diving into this work myself, the word purpose comes up pretty much in every reading. And I had pretty quickly early on, I had this realization that like, oh shit, I'm not sure purpose is what people think it is. And like, hi, myself, so guilty. I'm sure, Eric, when I first came to you, I was like, what's my purpose? Then you were like, oh shit, another one of these. But the word, I just started to realize like, one, especially being a new and early reader and early on, like I didn't want to let people down. So I was trying to figure out what their definition of it was, what the information I was getting on purpose and their purpose, and like bring it together in a way that didn't feel disappointing, because I think in my experience, purpose is like such a big thing. But I want to talk to you both because you both have had clients and been reading for people and helping people much longer than I have. What comes up for purpose in your readings? Like what do people come to you asking about purpose? What do you think they mean and are looking for?
I'll jump in here. Yeah. I think it's such an important conversation, and I just want to say I think there's so many layers and nuances and context that we can talk about this on. There's so many different ways to talk about it. But I think that's also what purpose is. There's no one purpose. And I think people think, at least in American society or Western society, that like purpose also correlates with job or career or the way that we make money. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think we can combine the two, but that's not always the case. Yeah, I think people also want to know, sometimes it's the more spiritual question of like, why are we here? What am I here for? What am I here to do? And, from my perspective and my own journey and my work, I think it's important to convey to people that we are souls here having a human experience, and our purpose is to be and to be present to that and to this gift of life and this soul curriculum that we have in this lifetime. And I truly believe, like at the macro level, our purpose is to evolve and to learn our lessons and to grow, to be of service, and to share our light and our love in this lifetime. And then from there, you can kind of, bullet down to relationships, career, all of those things. So I think it's important to start at the macro level.
Yeah. And I want to hear Kate's, and then I want to dig into that more. But I also want to acknowledge, like, when you are desperate, when you are in a dark place, which is, let's be honest, like that's when a lot of people are coming, searching for us and searching for help. Unfortunately, hopefully that will change. But the last thing you want to hear is that your purpose is to just be and like and expand, right? Like so many times I'm like, man, I wish I could just tell you like, here's your purpose, follow steps 1, 2, and 3, and like it's going to be easy. And so that's a hard part of our work, I think, is like, yes. And how do we give people something that they can work with, which I want to revisit. And I want to hear Kate's answer first.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that Eric just expressed too, because it is often people coming to my sessions and saying, what do I do with this? Like, what is my gift? What is my purpose? What am I supposed to share or bring to others? And yeah, they are typically thinking about it from a professional level. And I think it's in the being and living purposely, not necessarily your purpose period, because I also feel that our purpose can shift and change over time, because as we receive lessons that challenge us, our purpose is a direct response to that challenge that we went through personally. And then everyone gets caught up in like the medium that we use to express it. Some people express it through music, some people art, some people writing, some people like coaching, like that is just the funnel to take the lesson through. And I think that's the fun part of a reading, is we can definitely play with like, what would be a really natural way for you to move it out of you? Because the wisdom that you carry, the gift that you carry is real. It might make you money, it might not. We'll see. That's a whole separate conversation. But it could inspire something in others.
Yes.
Yeah. I like that you use two words, wisdom and gift. And I want to, for me, that was kind of an aha moment, or not even an aha moment, because it kept coming up this way in readings where it was like, purpose is this much bigger thing. And like I said, I want to dive into that. It's not this like dialed in, like your purpose is to be a doctor, that's which is oftentimes I think the answer people are looking for. But wisdom and gift, and for me, the words that came through to like kind of help people make sense of it all are mission and superpower, which I feel like are kind of similar. Eric, what language do you use to kind of like distill purpose down into something that feels a little bit more actionable?
That's a good question. Just to kind of build on what Kate was saying and what you were saying, and when and especially when people are coming to us like in a moment of dark times or desperation, yes, people don't want to hear your purpose is to be, but I think something that's so comforting to hear is like you are here for a reason. We are
Mhm.
all here for a reason. Individually, like absolutely you are here for a reason. This wasn't a mistake, this wasn't an aberration. You have sort of like divinely anointed programming or gifts within you to share with the world that,
Yeah.
is going to feel like it's your own like purposeful creative expression of your innate, again, wisdom, gifts, and talents, and also that will impact people. That's your way of being of service to the world, which is also helping, your soul path here. And I think being of service and helping and impacting, like that's kind of at the core what people are looking for with purpose. It's like, what am I here to do? And like Kate was saying, I completely agree. I think it's so different for everybody, and that's why it's fun to do all the work that we are all doing and help people find that, because for some people it is like being a psychic or an oracle or an astrologer, but for some people it is art and singing, and the art that they create is their pure creative expression that is of service to the world in that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important way to convey it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how you shared that. Why do we all feel so called to purpose? Because I want to visit that, because I don't think that it's always been that way. Like, is
Hmm.
this a sign of the times? Is this something happening in the cosmos? Is this a luxury of the fact that our basic needs are covered? I don't know that I've ever heard my mom talk about purpose, or
Hmm.
could even imagine her sitting there being like, I wonder what my purpose is.
Hmm.
Like I feel like this is something that is very generational, or like a kind of our generation started, and obviously it's continuing to happen in future generations. But like, what are your thoughts around that? What's going on with that?
I think it's a lot of what you named. I think it's the access to a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different ways everyone else is showing up in their lives, like seeing it, seeing different opportunities, and knowing that we can technically build whatever we want, whether that's a simple road or not. And I don't think that used to be questioned as much. Like, am I supposed to be doing this? Is this
Hmm.
truly my identity? Is this actually my role? Especially as women, maybe more and more over the generational healing of even just the feminine lineage, which is what I'm
Hmm.
speaking to specifically. But in everyone, like there was this idea of this is how we show up and this is how we
Hmm.
arrive in our life, and we just
Hmm.
go through the motions. And in some ways I envy it because it seems a little more simple and less
Yeah.
Right.
exhausting.
Yeah.
Right, like you
Yeah.
don't have as much inner conflict either. But yeah, I think just access and knowing like there is more potential and there are more opportunities than ever before. So
So
that's
do
my
you
thought.
think it was repressed before, or because there wasn't the space, and society didn't allow for it? Or do you think this
Mm.
is just kind of like an awakening that our generation has had because we're at a different vibration?
I think a little bit of both. I think there's repression and then also fighting against that repression and elevating
Hmm.
consciousness, vibration, frequency, a little bit of each.
Yeah.
I agree as well. I think historically so much of our energy has been focused on survival, and
Hmm.
and creation of families and things like that. And so that, I think, took up so much time and energy and focus. And I think we have the gift or even the luxury of being able to like step back. A lot of us, not everybody, of course, have the luxury to have all of our basic needs met, and so to be able to question some of these larger themes, or questions of what is my purpose, what am I here to do, rather than just survival of self and
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. When you guys share from that perspective, it's like, what a gift. How
Mm.
privileged are we? How lucky are we? But also, like, why does it feel so hard?
Mm.
Sometimes, why does it feel like almost like it's a life or death thing? And I
Mm.
don't know if it feels that way for everyone, but certainly if you've been through, I think the dark night of the soul, whatever you want to call it, it does feel life or death to align
Mm.
be aligned and be in flow and be in purpose, or what we're labeling as purpose. Like, why do you think we feel so called to it? And so it is such a strong feeling. And I think you guys know, we've both, we've talked about purpose all separately. Like, I think, we have our labels and our way of thinking about it, but we think about it for ourselves as well.
I think for me, my answer and first thought is like, when we kind of wake up to a certain truth within ourselves about what we want, what we desire, what our gifts might be, what wisdom we wish to share, it's really hard to live a life that's incongruent with that. It just becomes really uncomfortable. And that's all. It's just the full body resistance that starts to creep up. And I think, kind of going back to that access to other people's experience, the ability to see and compare just amplifies it even more, and either or.
Yeah. Eric, what are your thoughts on that? Or what does astrology say?
Yeah, well, just my own personal experience. I completely agree with what Kate was saying. I think, I was living a life that felt totally out of alignment with what I intuitively knew was correct for me. And again, had those, those experiences, the physical experiences, the knowing that this wasn't correct and aligned, and this wasn't the life I could envision for myself, 40, 50, 60 years down the line. So kind of took action on that, not knowing where it was going to lead me, but again, trusting in the process, trusting that having, sort of the bravery or the courage to go and pursue it, that I would, hopefully find it. And I have, and I, again, it's a journey. I think it's constantly evolving over time. I think that's another important point in all of this. It's something that we are in constant dance with, is our purpose and our exploration and our journey,
Yeah, I think that's a perfect segue, because it is a journey. I feel like you guys have probably experienced this too. I feel like people when they come to us for a reading or a session, like, they just want that answer. Like, they want us to be like, here's your purpose, go do it, and it is a little heartbreaking to tell them, like, hey, this is going to be a bit of a process. But what language do you use, or how do you guide people to start on that journey?
I feel like I really try to focus on like first steps to just make and bring more ease to their day by day, even if it doesn't mean that they're doing it around the clock 24/7. It's not their job yet, anything like that. Just how can we bring elements of this purpose into your everyday experience, so it starts to feel like this is a part of me. This isn't something I'm denying anymore. This is actually something I'm slowly leaning more into. I think people love to watch patterns be created and watch their behaviors change. So finding little micro ways to do that builds up the confidence to take bigger leaps, because that's another thing that comes up, is sometimes we can bring up in a session, hey, here's a really beautiful gift you have. And they're like, I know that, but I'm scared shitless and I have no idea where to begin.
Yeah.
So then we have to like reverse engineer it a little bit. So that's usually where I begin, is more in the micro. We've talked about this macro idea of a gift and a purpose, and assuring them too that like what might begin as the intention to like public speak could then become a book. And really it's your voice either way. So who cares? You know, and it's like just validating that whatever it ends up being and how you portray it, it doesn't matter so long as you stay in alignment with it.
I love that, because that's another thing that's hard to relate to people, right? Is like, it's almost like the actions don't always matter. Like, so here's your mission, here's your goal, here's your purpose, here's your superpower. As long as you're using it, it doesn't matter if it's running this business or that business, or, the little things that we worry about of like how to execute a lot of times don't matter. But that's a really wild concept, and it's like really hard to process.
It's also why, and I'd be curious what you guys think and how you both handle this too. It's why the predictive side of my readings has lessened a bit, like the details of like, if I see something, I might not say it so definitively, because that becomes a new point of comparison where they're like, well, Kate said it had to look this way. And no, it certainly doesn't. It's just a way to convey the message. So I've been more mindful of like how I show them what it looks like, so that it doesn't become something that they're referencing and then they're not like, oh, I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more with you. I think just to go back a couple steps, I think the part of the reason I ended up getting into using astrology and human design and gene keys and numerology was because it was a system that helped me kind of like decode these archetypes
Yes.
and these
Yeah.
possibilities. And, even just the beautiful fact that we are all individually and uniquely coded. And so to be
Hmm.
able to dive into that, I think helps get a lot of clarity and a lot of confirmation. But I always tell my clients these things exist on a spectrum, and there are a multitude of ways that they can express themselves. So, for instance, like one certain placement, like a north node, and a north node shows like our dharmic path, what we're meant to evolve into in this lifetime. Let's say it's in Gemini in the eighth house. There are 100 different ways that you can express that. And so, like you, Kate, I rarely ever tell people specifics or tell
Yeah.
people what to
Yeah.
do. I present the possibilities and the possible expressions and help them figure out what resonates as most true for them
Mhm.
at that moment. And then again, it even evolves over time. Gemini in the eighth house might want to do a podcast on spiritual and esoteric concepts. Beautiful. They're using their voice about these really deep experiences. And then down the line, it might turn into writing or any like filmmaking or things like that. There's always an evolution to it. So
Yeah. What do
yeah.
you think? Is there like a red flag that you would say in both your worlds if a reader or an astrologer like gives you this kind of definitive answer, if
Mm.
they're saying this or that, like is that like are there red flags that people should be looking for in their readings?
Mhm. Of course.
Yes, absolutely, 1000%.
I'm like, where do I
I
start?
know. I think anything that makes you feel fearful or disempowered, 1000% question that and do not take that as truth or fact. That
Yes.
is one person's interpretation, and it's not the truth.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
it
it's
can't feel
very
overwhelming.
human.
Yes.
It's not
Yeah.
coming from like a higher level. That is
Yes.
human muckiness all in it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it shouldn't feel taxing on your nervous system. Like you
Mm.
shouldn't feel like you enter or leave a reading and are like, whoa, I have tremendous work to do. You know,
Mm.
like, no, I have to completely radically change my life. Like, yes, there are shifts and changes, but for me, what my big thing I tell clients is like, nothing in a reading should really shock you. If
Yeah.
you walk away from a reading like truly, and I've had especially psychic readings where I've been told it was like literally a month before COVID shut down. And it's like, you're about to be on a Netflix show. I was like, I don't think so. Like, that feels really random. That
Yeah.
still waiting on Netflix. Like,
Like I'm gonna
like,
be
Yeah.
watching Netflix.
yeah, I just was like, so, and in
Mhm.
that moment, it's so fun, it's exciting, it's a dopamine rush. Like, ooh,
Hmm.
maybe that could be magical. But never once has that thought ever crossed my mind. And it's, I feel like the idea or label of like a mind reader is certainly nothing I would never subscribe to, but I like and enjoy when I hear from my clients like I feel like you're in my brain. I feel like you're in my heart. I
Hmm.
Mhm.
feel like you're
Hmm.
speaking the things I say to myself.
Mhm.
That's way more validating to me as a psychic than seeing some wild dream that we're not
Mhm.
sure is what they truthfully want.
Yeah. And I think that's so empowering too to leave a reading. And I've had this experience many times where it's like, oh, they just repeated back to me a lot of things that I already
Yes.
knew, but I wasn't like brave enough to trust myself. So
Yeah.
now I have the information in a way that feels solid. And now I also know I can trust myself when I'm hearing those things, thinking those things, something's
Mhm.
coming up repeatedly. Like I now feel empowered. I feel energized by the
Mm.
information and empowered that like, oh shit, I can kind of like trust myself on some of this
Yes.
stuff.
Totally.
I have one more note on that. I think I believe that we have free will
Mhm.
and that we can work with these energies and even in astrology, these placements to get them to their highest expression or highest timeline.
Yes.
So
Yes.
somebody might have a placement where it indicates that they experience difficulty or karmic blocks around relationships. Maybe they get a reading with somebody and they're like, "Oh, you might not ever get married," or something like that. Something really traumatic to hear,
Yeah.
which again is not the truth. What we can do is use this information to be like, okay, cool. I now have this awareness that I do experience some of issues or blocks around relationships, how can I take the action and put in the work to transmute this to its highest timeline so that I can enter into healthy relationships and get what I want? If I do want to be married, I know that I can find that partnership in a really aligned way. So that's just, I think, another important point here is the free will aspect of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can, while we're still in the 3D easy to process stuff, how can people kind of reframe their relationship with and to purpose, or their understanding of purpose and these other things we talked about, the wisdom, the gifts, the mission, the superpower? Like, how do we make it a little easier to understand, and I think in that to also find ourselves and not have to go to outside sources to tell us?
I think one thing I've thought about as it relates to my personal purpose, wisdom, gifts, all those things. I ask myself, I check in and think can I commit to this? Meaning, can I really fully show up and live what I'm trying to promote authentically? Can I do it and it feels easy to integrate into my life? And if the answer is yes, it probably is something I'm meant to share about. But I think that was I'm a pretty creative person. I think that's something I definitely know. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of, I think I have strengths, and I have different ways that I can express my creativity, but not all of them feel so in alignment that I can commit to them.
Yeah.
That's a good little test I
love
put
that.
myself through. I'm just because this is a fantastic idea, if I do say so myself, doesn't mean it's mine. Doesn't mean it's mine to embody or to carry or to work through and move through. And I think the difference between a fantastic idea or a gift or a natural talent and a purpose is our own personal dedication to living and exuding it and setting the example for it. So that takes a little bit of slowing down sometimes too.
I love that.
Yeah, me too. The burden of having a lot of good ideas. I feel you, Kate.
Yeah.
I'm I gotta just give this to someone else.
Yeah.
Look, I have a great idea for you and you and you. I plan out people's whole businesses. If a friend comes over for dinner,
in me. I'm if I'm moving, I'm thinking. If I'm thinking, I got ideas.
I know. It's amazing and awful too, because you're would you like me to tell you how your business should go for the next 5 years?
I love that question. I love that question, though, of what can I commit to? I think that's so important. I think another question that people can ask themselves to check in is what brings you your highest state of satisfaction? What brings you your highest state of joy?
Yeah.
What things, activities, whatever it is, brings you into your flow state? What are these things that you are naturally drawn to? And a lot of times people have stories around them of oh, I could never do this or I could never do that. And question those.
Yeah.
Question those stories, those thoughts, those narratives. And I would also say get creative with it. You know what I mean? Because again, for some people, let's say it's art or painting or something, and okay, so sure, maybe for the first step isn't going to be that you are being shown in, the most sophisticated gallery in New York, but what are the steps that you can take to get there? Like Kate said, what can you commit to? What's the process and the path to get that, and to trust it and trust in yourself,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The superpower and mission language kind of came to me through being in the records, but applying it to myself, a superpower, understanding your superpower is a really easy place to start, because I think one, at this stage in life, we all kind of know what we're good at, what we're called to, what feels good, what we just know and can do without actually trying. And also we have friends and family members that we can ask hey, what do you think my superpowers are? And taking it from that place, I think, to me was a kind of easy path to follow. And then asking, okay, what are the things I can do with these superpowers, or the one I'm most excited about and most called to? And instead of taking it up 10 layers to purpose, it's next step is mission. What's my mission right now with this superpower? And the right now, and I know you mentioned this earlier, Kate, is our mission, our purpose, our what we're meant to be doing. It does evolve. Of course it evolves. We are constantly evolving, and the cosmos are moving and things are energy shifting. So I really have found a lot of joy and comfort in asking what is my mission right now?
Mhm.
Instead of like this big esoteric thing that I like have to be working towards. Like right now, great. It's going to change eventually. Right now, it feels like very digestible. I can use my superpowers to go through on this mission, and the mission still usually isn't like something like super specific, like and it's like, honestly, guys, it's like it's never actually work related, like at least in the ways that we understand or people want answers. Like, for example, my mission right now, the information I'm very clearly getting is to be the light. And well, on one hand, that's like, what the fuck does that mean? I actually know exactly what that means. And when you dig into it, it makes sense. Okay, if I can be the light if I can be the light, imagine what that's going to shine on and uplift and bring to my entire life and everything that I touch.
And you can dive into it, and you can ask questions. You can keep excavating. Okay, to be the light. So how do you want to share your light?
Yes.
What are the ways you want to share your light? And again, that still doesn't have to be career and money.
Right.
That can be even just your interpersonal relationship dynamics and the way you are in the world. So it's I think we can keep diving deeper into these things to help get clarity, on the macro to the micro.
Yeah, and you've used the word a few times, Eric, like this excavation, like that is kind of what it all is. Like the whole journey is just like digging, observing, asking questions, digging more, like obviously taking the information and doing something with it. But it's like this constant discovery. And I think maybe if you're just starting on the journey, that feels overwhelming because you're like, I just want to get to the place where I'm living my purpose. But I think, and I'd be interested to hear how you two feel about this, but I think like the willingness to be on the journey and continue on the journey, like automatically pulls you into this, takes you into this vibration, whether you've got it perfect or have all the answers or anything else, it automatically takes you into this vibration that starts to align you with that vibration of that we're seeking when we talk about purpose and mission and alignment.
Yeah, intention is everything, right? Like just the intention to be in it and curious. And I think what I've learned like over the last few years of being even in my business and in my life, and I do think I'm living my purpose in many ways, and I know it's going to evolve, but I think it's just a string of different divine assignments that I'm like moving through. And then I finish that one assignment and that contract ends, but yet the through line and the intention has really always been exactly the same, relatively. And it started with an intention to heal and support myself. And then it became about someone else. So it's like kind of this continuation all the time. So as we keep excavating, we keep uncovering some of those layers. And eventually we get so comfortable with like, the uprooting and the changing and the evolving that we actually become comfortable with the being.
Yes.
And then it's like, oh, we got right back to the core. We got right back to the center. It's this loop or spiral that we just inevitably have to walk through.
Yeah. Can I share a theory with you guys?
Please.
Okay. I'm excited to hear what you think and what you've seen. And this is from, this comes from my experience in my readings with other people and just kind of trying to make sense of it all. But I feel like what I've experienced, I feel like there are two types of humans or souls with missions or purposes to fulfill. There's one type where it's like your true purpose really is like just your own growth, your own expansion, like being this like highest, most expanded version of yourself. And through that, of course, it impacts others and helps others, but like really like you can just kind of focus on yourself and being that. And then I feel like there's a second group that, yes, that because that feels like the foundation and the core of everything, but also has this, double parallel purpose in helping to raise the vibration, the consciousness of all humanity, all physical forms on the planet. And not that one is better than the other. I just feel like I've noticed this difference of this category and this category. And curious what you guys think about that.
I agree with you, and I would also posit to say I think I experience it as a spectrum of that concept.
I was
You know,
just gonna
especially kind of what I see in my work and seeing people's astrology charts. You know, we can go from one end of the spectrum, like let's say it's Aries. Aries is all about the I, the self, the me, the development of self, action. And then you get to Libra, which is all about the other. It's the middle of the zodiac. And then you get to Pisces, which is the all. It's the collective. And so again, I think there is a spectrum for people to experience it. And I don't think there's any right or wrong answer. It's like
Mhm.
what feels
Totally.
most true to you and most accurate to you, and to not judge it, you know, to not I think so many people judge themselves, and you know, the shoulds come in. I should be doing this. I should be this way. And I think really so much of this is like full acceptance of self and who we are and how we're designed. And I think that really leads to that freedom, you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I definitely agree with the spectrum, and recognizing too is their gift in the intimacy and vulnerability they can express to one person, like one on
Yes.
Mm,
one, and like the healing that can occur in those dynamics. Like that's very much where I live in my
mm,
work is like I believe that, yes, there's some level of vibration shift or collective consciousness that I'm meant to aid in. But more than anything, I am constantly focused on like the individual in front of me, knowing that will create a ripple effect. But I meet with and connect with other spiritual, Brooke being a great example.
mhm.
You are much more centered in like the collective consciousness than I
Mm-hmm.
ever am in my work. And neither is right or wrong. Like
Right.
we're both
Right.
really doing the same exact divine assignment.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But it is a beautiful way Eric put it of even like looking at the wheel of the zodiac itself. Like it's just what do you think or feel most called to support? And
Yeah.
like for some of us, it's just ourselves.
Mm,
And that's
Yeah.
where we're at right now.
And I think one of the reasons I wanted to share that is because like take a breath if that's you.
mhm.
Like we are
Yeah.
all kind of like on, all of us like on a journey are like, who can I help? How can I help? How can I help everyone?
Mhm.
Like that's not what we're not all here to do that.
Yeah.
And like and I think no matter what version you're feeling called to, like and it probably is that you guys have done way more readings and have way more experience than I do. And so I have a much smaller pool to pull from. So I believe you that it probably is a spectrum. But like, no matter what direction you feel called to, like, just listen to that. That's all good.
Totally.
That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And always, I think either one, first and foremost, it's like, let's get ourselves there. Let's get
Yeah.
ourselves to that expansion, that higher consciousness, that alignment. And then, put on your, what do they say on the airplane? Like, put
Yeah,
on,
your oxygen mask.
Yeah.
yeah,
You have to
exactly.
Put
be
on your
the
mask first before another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
to be
And
an
I
example
think
of it.
I think like to that point as well, I think, you know, again, like so much of our macro purpose is to like channel our light, our love, our wisdom, our soul into whatever that is that we feel called to express that life force, creative energy into. And, you know, like you were saying, I think for some people that is being like a spiritual teacher, like talking to the collective. And for some people that is being in their art studio alone, channeling that into their artwork. And, you know, then that artwork gets shared somewhere and somebody interacts with it and has some moment of realization, or they're moved by that art, and that's how it's also impacting people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's
Yeah.
so many ways that we can impact others, and to trust our own unique strain and curriculum of that, you know?
Yeah, I'd be so curious too, and Kate, wonder if you've seen anything, or Eric, if there's anything in your data that would correlate like lifetimes to one direction or the other, like
Mm.
if you've been here for more lifetimes and you're kind of like toward the end of your visits here on the planet, then are you like more called to this like dual mission, or versus like if you're
Totally.
brand new, yeah, it probably is a lot to just like figure yourself out,
Mm.
I definitely believe in that, and I think it. But to be fair, I've definitely been in sessions before where someone says like, "I just feel like my purpose is being right now. It's very simple."
Yes.
And I
Yes.
say, "Who knows what you were doing in like previous lifetimes?
Yes.
You might need a break."
Yeah.
And that's so fair. And permission to pause and just be. So yeah, yes, I do. I think like the lifetimes concept is something that I'm very comforted by, but other people are very overwhelmed by, and it
Mm-hmm.
gets distracting for them. So I kind of gauge when, as far as like where the conversation goes in my actual client readings, it's like I kind of can tell if someone's going to feel comforted and like really safe, or if that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be in the back of their mind. And I decide
Yeah.
if I want to bring it up.
Mhm.
Yeah. 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 You've helped me with that because, yes, I've started to be process that in a different way too. Like, oh, I can see things from past lifetimes, but is that going to
Serve them.
serve you in this moment or not? It's really interesting. And Eric, you can see in a very different way. You can see things from people's past
Yeah.
lifetimes too. It's so
Yeah.
wild.
100%. We look at certain placements like the South Node or our Saturn placement or our Pluto placement and any connections with other planets with that. Or if somebody has a stellium, like a concentration of energy in their chart, that's another way we can look at patterns like that. But I do agree with you. I think, if we are talking about that concept of like reincarnation and soul age, I do think, people that have been here maybe more times, um, I think, again, as you're moving through this soul curriculum and you're raising your awareness and consciousness, I do think there is that call to be sharing more and more of that light and that love and to
Mm-hmm.
be of service in that way. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's sort of a natural evolution there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back and visit the macro
Hmm.
version of purpose.
Yeah.
And Eric, I know you shared a little bit early on, but like let's just like get it like our all of our thoughts together at the same time. So what do like if I was to look you in the eye on a
Mm.
podcast and ask you what does purpose mean?
Yeah.
How would you explain
Hmm.
purpose and how we relate to it?
I would say that our purpose is to understand that we are here again as a soul, having a human experience, meant to continually raise our awareness, our consciousness, and to know that it's a journey, and to know that it's a journey that we will face, some fears and some triggers and some things like that, and to trust it and to through that process, come into our own alignment and come to our own alignment with awareness and with our own light and love, and to share that with whoever we can share that with,
Mm.
to be of service in that way.
Mm.
I think that's a beautiful expression of macro purpose. How can we use our spark of life, our creative life force energy, to share our really incredibly unique gifts in this lifetime,
Yeah.
to be of service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Kate, what do you think?
Yeah, just that our purpose is this unique gift and energy that we were given to learn how to channel and express and share with others, also to feel in deep alignment and trust within ourselves.
Mm. Yeah.
How about you, my friend? What would you say?
Things have gotten interesting this week, Eric.
I can't wait to hear.
Kate knows a little bit because she was there and
Mhm.
led me to this very interesting place, but I'm still processing my perspective from this place and
Mm.
and all of it, but let me, we'll have a private chat about it, but let me
Okay.
try and describe it high level without scaring anyone. Um, um, I felt like I saw and felt and experienced like ground zero,
Mm.
like source, the place, there's not even a label for it, like where energy was created.
Source consciousness.
Source.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And it's got me thinking, like, what if, like, it's made life feel a little bit more like a game in a really beautiful way.
Mm.
And like, what if the ultimate, we'll just use game language, right? Again, like everyone bear with me because I'm
Mhm.
still processing this. Like Kate, you have no idea how many times I've just like caught myself like sitting and like staring at the wall, thinking about it and trying to process all that it means, what I saw, felt, and it was even less of seeing and feeling, and it was more of just like information given to me, like downloaded. But so in the context of a game, it almost feels like this like goal or the way to like ultimately win the game is to kind of be able to hold that consciousness that highest level of consciousness and the human consciousness both at the same time and be able to fully experience and appreciate and know and be aware of both experiences. Because the one thing that was interesting about that experience is there was like, it made me appreciate the ability to hug someone, like the things that we can do in human form. It was very beautiful in like, there felt like no negativity, but like, are all the love, joy, are all of those things as amazing if you're feeling them all the time and you don't have that duality?
Yeah.
And so to me, it's been this like thought process of like, man, what if we could have it all? Like, what if we could experience it all at the same time and truly, truly have an appreciation and understanding of both extreme levels of consciousness?
I love that so much. I've explored these concepts as well, and I think we can even call it like duality and non-duality. Soul and human, and I completely agree with you. And I think this is something I experienced in my own life, and I think I even talk about it with clients a lot. It's, again, you can live and explore, and I think especially at the beginning of the journey, it's so incredible to tap into that soul level source consciousness and to play around with it and to discover it. It's incredible. I mean, it's everything. And then you also are like, okay, well, wait, I am a soul. I am a fractal of source consciousness in this human body, and I'm supposed to live this human life.
Right.
And I'm supposed to have the heartbreaks and the difficulties and all of these things. And again, like the way that you can describe it, it is kind of like a game. It can help you kind of like put that macro context and understanding around it. It's like, okay, well then, you know what? Everything is kind of okay. As painful as it can be sometimes, like it can be like, oh God, well, I guess it is. It's part of this game. It's part of this journey. It's part of this process again, as this soul having this human experience. So yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that's a really beautiful way to put it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. That's incredible. I'm excited for you.
Well, I think one of the things too, it just made me, and I mean, this was minutes. How long were we in there, Kate? I'm afraid to go back without Kate. I'm not
Yeah.
like I need Kate to like be holding, be holding my hand and also make sure I come back.
Yeah, and it's funny because like when you're guiding someone in that, like you're not there either, so it's like you're kind of just like having a nice distance to like keep you tethered,
Yes.
What was I just gonna say though? Yeah, I think it was really powerful to witness. I know it was really powerful to witness.
I also just want to say, I think it's so important that people have those experiences, those experiences of the divine, of source, of God, of consciousness, of whatever you want to call it, because I think that is also something we've lost over time is that connection to that as we've gotten more into the mundane and the day-to-day and survival and all of that stuff. So I think also leading people back to that experience is so incredibly important and also timely as we are moving into the North Node being in Pisces and the South Node being in Virgo. So again, it lines up perfectly with that nodal switch and Pluto moving into Aquarius for the next 20 years. It's perfectly aligned for this shift.
We all can't wait for frickin' Pluto to get back into Aquarius.
Please. I'm the number one cheerleader of that happening. Yeah. I can't wait.
I feel like it's just gonna be. We're just gonna feel like we're like floating on a lazy river, and life is gonna be just a little bit easier, and in flow. But I think one message that I really, again, I'm still processing my experience, and I think everyone has the ability to access this. It was a surprise for me. It's not like we were planning on that. We thought we were walking into a forest. I thought I was gonna see maybe some fairies or butterflies. But I think one thing that was so undeniable and is a really wild thing to process and will take me a lot of time was that message of there is no separation. We are all one. That is wild. It's one thing to hear and say and believe, but to feel and see it, it is so wild. Like this lack, we all come from the same source of energy, and like there is no separation. Any language, and this kind of goes back to when I asked you guys like red flags, but I've been feeling this a lot lately, like with things you see on Instagram, or like, you know, different readers or healers like sharing stuff on Instagram. Any language around separation is just not true. It's not true. And any healer, coach leading or talking about separation or dark forces or evil or like, it's not possible. That's not true. That's just like a human level thing.
And separation is also like, it's also fear. So again, anything that's making you feel fearful or disempowered, like it's not the actual truth of who we are and why we're here.
You're so good at sharing things in that way. Like you are so empowering, and Kate, I know that you are too. And like, that is really such a, I think, important responsibility, because I think that's one thing, like, and that's where healers and teachers will start to differentiate themselves. Like all three of us know, like, everyone has the ability to do what we're doing, to access this information, to tap in, to tune in, to talk to their guides. Everyone has the ability to do it. But the magic is in, if you're going to do it for someone else, in being able to share that information in the correct way, not muddy up the like humanness, because we still have to run it through like our brains a little bit and like out our mouths and use human words. But both of you have this, I know you feel so strong about the responsibility, and it's so impressive. And this is one of the things I've learned the most from both of you, is like your ability to share the information in a way that is always of the light and of the highest good and empowering for people.
Thank you. It's
like
the biggest compliment.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a huge compliment. Yeah. I think that is a big part of doing this work is holding a space that feels safe and that feels like unconditional love and light. And I think that's even a message for people that are hearing this, that are maybe at the beginning of the journey or starting the journey, or even, I mean, anybody really. It's like part of this journey of finding your purpose. You will encounter some fear. I think it's an inevitable part of change and evolution and growth and consciousness. And to know that because you're experiencing fear doesn't mean that you need to stop, that you can work your way through fear, and you can do it yourself. And you can also find the helpers. You can find, Brooke, Kate, myself, other people out there that can help you alchemize and transmute that fear to keep going and keep finding your alignment and keep finding your purpose. Yeah. Something my 3-year-old has taught me. Fear is one breath away from bravery. Like you literally can take a breath and be brave instead of being afraid. And that's a pretty cool. And I think there's a lot, and this is another thing I appreciate about you too, in the language you use. I think there's so much that we can reframe just in the language that we use for ourselves and on our own journey. So tell me, I want to wrap it up with talking about each of your purposes and how, just anything that comes to mind. But Eric, what is your purpose? How has that been for you? How has it evolved? Where are you going? That's such a good question. I think for so long I felt stuck because I didn't feel like I was doing work that mattered to me or to others. I wasn't finding fulfillment in it. It wasn't giving me that feeling of like, oh, I am of service, I am helping, and I'm fulfilling, or being of service to other people. So, I think that's a huge part of my purpose. And, it's so funny. I sometimes tell people in my sessions, again, there are certain things in astrology and human design that help you see this. And part of mine is helping people see their patterns to help them raise their awareness and consciousness. And I think that's what I really aim to do with my work. And then on the next level of that is to help people feel empowered and to love themselves and to love their life. Because I think, again, I've experienced the flip side of that. I think so many people have experienced the flip side of that. And it's to know that, like, you are here for a reason, you are here for a purpose. Let's dive in and figure it out. Let's help you find that alignment. Let's help you find that joy so that, again, not only do you feel that, but you're expressing your creative spark, your life force, vitality, and energy to also help other people. So it's this chain of helping people to help people to help people to, again, raise consciousness, raise the vibration, raise the light, raise the love, so we can all evolve and grow. And yeah, I think the next steps are maybe going a little bit, maybe going a little bit wider. I know I've talked about this for a long time, but podcast for me definitely feels right. I love this. I love having these conversations with people like both of you, and I love asking questions. Love asking questions and excavating and diving deeper. So I think that's the next step of evolution, and I think, yeah, we'll see what happens from there.
I would listen in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, I know. Me
Thank
too.
you.
I already planned out months ago when Eric mentioned the word podcast, and I was like, "Here's your plan. Here's the name. Here's the tagline."
Thank you.
Let's
Thank
go.
you. Yes.
You got this.
Yeah.
The world is ready for this. I'll drop
Thank
all
you.
my other podcasts to make time to listen to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to share that I think is so important about the work that you do, and Kate, I would be curious if this comes up in readings for you, is like, I will see information and then in a reading, and then also understanding where the person is. And a lot of times it's like they're only going to be able to process certain information because they haven't done a certain level of work, and that work is always knowing yourself. It's always like you need to do the work to know yourself, because let's be real, that starts you on to know yourself is to love yourself, is to trust yourself, and then you're finding the answers to purpose, mission, superpowers, all of that all on your own. But I love that your work gives, like, it helps the logical brain, right?
Yes.
Like,
It does.
And sometimes I'm almost jealous of that you have the ability to take all this data and information and process it and share it in a way that's beautiful, versus it feeling like you're, how I sometimes feel, where it's like I'm pulling stuff out of the sky. I know this is true, but like I can't prove it in any other way
both,
than like,
though.
you know,
It's left brain, right brain. It's logic and spirit. We need all of it. We need all expressions of it. So
yeah, but I think the work you're doing is so important in like giving people a very logical way, or at least to me, in my world, it feels logical. I think astrology still is new to a lot of people, but and numerology, and you go into human design, and like, oh, that's what I love about you, is you have all these tools that help the logical brain and help with the most important first step, is like, get to know yourself.
Yeah. Understand yourself, understand your patterns, where you're coming from, and again, trust the process. As we've experienced in our work together, Brooke, like, it takes time. Like, it takes time to process. It takes layers to process, and to allow that journey and that time. We don't need to force this. We can trust the journey and the process.
Well, because Kate and I could tell you your purpose in a second, right? But if you don't then know how to bridge the gap to getting there, if you don't have the foundation, if you then it's like it goes in one ear out the next. It could be the exact right words, the exact right purpose. But if you're not in a place where it makes sense, you can process it, you can hear it, you know what to do with it, you have tools, you're at a vibration to hear it. That is something, Kate, curious if you see this, I'm sure you do, and you probably even taught me this, but experiencing people, understanding where people's vibration is when you do a reading for them, and then like kind of, shifting the information that's coming in to meet them where they are, versus giving them all of the information that is available for them.
Yeah, meeting them where they are, speaking in a way that's going to feel in resonance, not like talking at them, but talking with them, like co-creating. That's really what I like to label it as. Yeah.
There's no like fix that's going to come from going to a psychic or oracle, or even to you, Eric. It is like, it is all this co-creation, and like we can give you information, we can give you the tools, and then it's up to the individual to like go out and like do the work.
It's so true.
Show up.
The answer is always you. The answer is always you.
And also
It's
to get comfortable, like for me, it took a while to get comfortable with the resistance too.
Yeah.
Like if there is resistance, that's okay. Like
Yeah.
some of the most profound readers and healers that I've seen have challenged me. And I walk away being like, I didn't like that. And then something actually
Yes.
happened.
Yes.
Like it
Yes.
initiated true change in me. So that took a while to get more comfortable with. Is like, they don't have to love me at the end either.
Yeah.
And maybe that's some of the lesson too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's very important for readers to hear, and for me, for sure, to hear. It's like, yeah. So, Kate,
Yeah.
talk to us about your purpose, your current purpose, your future purpose, anything that you'd like to share.
I think my purpose for a long time has been making peace with the past and allowing other people to feel that permission as well. And everything is incredibly inner child rooted for me. Like that is my number one spirit guide. She is my girl. We are a team and we are co-creating. And I think allowing other people, that's the fifth house stellium.
Yeah. Kate's chart is pretty amazing. Yeah. It's pretty incredible. Yeah.
And it's just telling stories back to her, reparenting her, caring for her, or him, them, and knowing that that inner child is the truest part of you, and that's the most fun, playful, authentic part of you. So much of it was like releasing these layers of shame, and that was my purpose, was like teaching myself how and teaching others how, which is like why I was very, I think, captivated by even like tarot as a practice, is because it felt dark and it felt mysterious and it felt like shadow based in many ways, which is why it holds so many stigmas. That could be an entire podcast of its own. But it was this way for the inner child to feel seen and heard. So that was my original purpose. Then it turned into these different, modalities, tools, resources, readings for people to feel the same permission to just, okay, I can move forward and I can bring her along with me. I can bring that part of me along with me. Because I think what I saw in myself was like all these fragments of who I was, feeling kind of scattered. And it was really about creating some sense of wholeness. Now today, I've noticed in myself this interesting like bridge between like previous purpose or continued purpose and future purpose, is like, how do we like really, really enjoy now and experience this freedom, this permission, this invitation for play and pleasure and ease, you know? Because it was so much about the scar and the wound.
Yes.
And now I'm like, I'll always remember and care for those parts of me. But I'm feeling good now. So how do I lean into this?
Yeah.
And how do we give, other people that opportunity to do the same? And for me, it's become very simple, like even just romanticizing the everyday, taking your experience as a human and like bringing the senses into it, enjoying it. It's why I've started focusing on the home a little bit more and the spaces that make us feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
Beautiful.
that. Do you think there is a difference between inner child and higher self?
I think they definitely know each other. They were born at the same time. That's what I think. And I think that our inner child wants to grow to be the higher self. And it's just about sharing, here's how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sweet. I love
And
that.
I think our inner child is like who we are before we experience any conditioning or trauma or family dynamics, societal thing. It's like it's that really pure version of ourselves. So it's beautiful.
And the higher self is like, despite all those things, I stay true to myself.
Yeah.
So that's why I think they almost emerged on a soul level at the same exact time.
I love that. It's just bringing the wisdom to the true soul essence. Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
And I love, Kate, I love what you said. And just to also say, like, what you're saying is like, we can heal. Like, we can heal from the hard things that we've gone through. We can dive into them and explore them, and we can come out the other side. And I think that's really important for people to hear, is that you can go through that journey, So yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like for anyone listening, just ask yourself, what is my purpose, or what have I labeled as my purpose? I think a really hard but necessary and awakening moment for me was like being like, wait a minute, I've put my purpose as like my business and like making plant-based milk. Like I've put freaking plant-based milk as my purpose. Like, what have I been talking about? And like for years, it was just like pushing this plant-based milk company forward. And obviously there's a lot of layers to that, but this awakening of like, girl, like you were sleeping if you thought plant-based milk was your purpose, you know? And not in a way that it like has to go away, or like, you know, it's not important or amazing or significant that what we've done with that, but like that's not the purpose. Like there's no way that can be the purpose. So I think I would just invite everyone to ask that. What are you labeling as purpose? Do you know what your purpose is? What, and to the things we dug into, like maybe starting with your superpower. Where does that lead you? What lights you up? What really is like, you know, feels like, whoa, this would be really cool if I could pursue this and make something of it, because that's the hard part with all of this, right? Like we have the answers. The answers are big and vast and amazing and beautiful. And also like we need to make money to keep the roof over our heads. And like we like nice things like hi, Taurus North Node, you know, like, so we still have to very much like operate in this dimension, and do the things that allow us to do that. Even though there are plenty of days where I'm like, no, I just want to stay over here in these higher dimensions. But start to explore, like, what are your superpowers? What is bringing you joy? What do people gravitate to you for? You know, and then what are the possibilities with that? What are the things you could do that still light you up, even if it's just a hobby or a side gig, or you just play with it. And then I think the next step, at least for me, was like, what is my mission right now? I recognize my gifts. I recognize like I know what I'm good at. What's my mission right now with those gifts? And that to me just like breaks it down a little bit easier and like allows a path for you to follow. And in the meantime, talk to healers, talk to guides that you trust. Get to know your astrology, your human design, like have a psychic in your back pocket that you really love, that really, you know, is kind of just reminding you of your power and what you already know. Like use the tools and guides along the journey with the goal of being in that fully expanded, fully empowered, full knowing place.
We all need that, by the way. We all need that space held. We all need that reflection. We all need that connection and community with others. So again, it's okay. And it's a beautiful thing. And, you know, find your people to connect with. You know, it's how we all learn and grow and evolve and see ourselves. So
yeah, look, that's the concept behind the name of this podcast, right? Expanders Club. And this realization that I had that like in every connection, in every moment when we are around people, there are these expansive moments, these learning opportunities. And we are meant to, you know, if we are all one, then we also need each other for this journey. It's not like a solo mission to go do it all on your own. And you know, I am one of the lucky ones. I'm so grateful to have you guys on this journey to reflect and guide and take me through portals and all the things that have gotten me here from a very you know, to the place where I was. All I want to know is what my purpose is. Like I want to be living my purpose, to fully understanding on a whole different level what purpose means, fully appreciating the human experience, being able to tap into all these different levels of consciousness. Like, guys, if nothing else, part of my purpose is to showcase, like, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Like, and that's not in a way of putting myself down. It's just like, it's all attainable for anyone. You just make the choice. It's about being willing and then putting in the work and showing up.
100%.
So it is.
And so it is.
And so it is. And that is the exact perfect way to end. Anything else you guys would like to add or share with the audience?
No, I think we gave them a lot to say.
Yeah, that was pretty comprehensive. It's pretty comprehensive. Trust the journey, trust the process.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. That's it really, you know?
Yeah.
And thank you. Like, right back at you. It's my deepest honor and pleasure to have met you, to work with you, to be on this podcast with you. You are truly an incredible being who is of so much service in this world and impacting so many people. And it's co-creation. It's all co-creation, and I'm so grateful to be connected with you, truly, and you, Kate, as well. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I echo all of that. You are expansive and inspiring to me, Brooke. And I know you expressed a lot of the ways I've helped you, but it's co-created. It goes back and forth. I've met amazing people, Eric being one of them, through you and many others. And yeah, I think you're absolutely living your purpose, and it's really beautiful to witness.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. And I think let this be another example, like when you are aligned, or you even just intend to be aligned, like the people it brings in to help you and join you, and the people that are at the vibration you want to be at and are in alignment, like it just gets really fun. And like, I feel like I'm now entering like the fun part where it's like, okay, let's freaking go. Let's see how wild this can get.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Eric, can you share where people can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Instagram account is The Unlock Method. You can reach me there. You can click the link in my bio to schedule a session with me. Also, my email is theunlockmethod@gmail.com. That's always a great way to touch base as well.
Yes, and I always go to your Insta whenever there's something big coming up astrologically. I'm like, what's Eric have to say? Even though we talk so regularly, I usually know. But sometimes to see it in writing, or you just need to hear things 10 times. So
100%.
I love using your social media as a tool for that.
Thank you.
So yeah,
thank you so much.
Yeah, and Kate, how about you? You are social media queen. Your content is just like every freaking thing hits. I'm like, how does she do it?
So
Everything she shares has value, and I'm like saving it or sharing it with someone or like reposting it, or I still got to get freaking cinnamon sticks and oranges for my, for my kitchen. Like,
Witchcraft.
Yes.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Kate Van Horn. My website's katevanhorn.com. You can also email me. I love that idea, Eric, of just going direct to the source. Hello at katevanhorn.com. My readings, my retreats, my mentorship, all of it is, housed on my website, but happy to connect and hear the ways I can support anyone listening.
Yeah, can you tell us what's the most, I mean, I want to ask you about your retreats coming up, but what's the most exciting thing you want to share about?
I'd say I'm really excited about my new mentorship program starting this year. I've structured it differently. You're my last of the previous kind of cohort, and now I'm moving into a new phase.
Kate was like, no more of this.
I love it, but it's just, you have to know when you're being called to elsewhere. So I'm excited to hold space in a slightly different way, but all of it still feels really authentic and true to my process, and just a different flavor,
And actually, correct me if I'm wrong, because, we dove into a lot about Eric helping people on their journey and getting to know themselves. But is that what your new mentorship is about? Is it more about leaning into to help people truly know themselves?
It's called Becoming Me. So it's allowing yourself to really fully express, in the most simple ways and the most sacred, like essentially allowing your everyday life to be a reflection of who you really are, not who we've conditioned and believe we need to be. And really I'm calling it a month-long ceremony for self. So it's this month-long container where you are so dedicated to celebrating and uplifting yourself and looking at all these different gifts that you walk away really different than you ever were.
Ooh, I love that. That feels like the perfect birthday gift for someone too. Birthday, how empowering is birthday month, you just feel like you're ready to shift, you're ready to take on the world. Like, what a treat that would be to have help in that container, in that space.
Be an honor. Absolutely. And I think it's if someone does a reading with me and really enjoys my style and, feels in resonance with the way I support them and the tools I offer, it's a great way to dive deeper too.
Yeah. I love that. And you are so good at holding space for people, speaking from experience. All right. Thank you two so much. To everyone listening, I hope this was helpful. I hope it brought clarity. I hope, it gives you some moments to pause and think and ask yourself the same questions we were asking. Like, what are your thoughts on these things? What has your experience been? What is the information you've gotten from the planet? are any of the modalities or things we've talked about calling you? Like, what do you feel like your purpose, your mission, your superpowers are? Because like, yes, use all the tools and the help, but like, I have a feeling once everyone really starts to tune in, like you're going to get a lot of answers yourself. So we hope you enjoyed this. Please follow Eric and Kate for all kinds of fun information and stay in touch with them and share this with someone who you want to have an interesting conversation with. Like, I die for these conversations, and I think the more I start talking about this stuff with my friends, I'm realizing like they're all really into it too, and we're all just kind of like keeping in our own lane and talking about the basic boring stuff. Like, we don't want to talk about the weather anymore. We don't want to talk about work. We want to get down to the nitty-gritty and talk about the real stuff. So would love you to use this this podcast in the group. Put it in the group chat. Get the whole group talking about it. And let us know where it goes. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.